What's going on, everybody? It's Bill Bailey with today's Boondoggle. Hold on a minute. Wait, let me restart that. I got to do this correct.
Jesus.
Typical.
February 20th, 2022. Today's Boondoggle podcast presents the Midwest Wasteland Reunion Show with your host, Bill Bailey. And then
We're doing that.
Kevin Baird. Brian
I didn't know we were.
Brian, yeah.
Yeah, there's what?
Shit show. Yeah, just like
If you have something planned for the intro.
Should we?
Yeah.
If you have something planned for the intro, you should tell everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need little cards in front of us so we know.
There's
how
no
to
like muscle memory that kicks in. You know,
No.
I was trying to do my best.
We have to be told what to do. You don't understand.
Yeah.
See, Kevin always tells us, this is what we're doing, and then you say this, you say this,
He
you
has
say
to.
this.
Yeah,
Right, right.
This is your
Every
story
week.
with your ex-girlfriend.
Jesus.
All right, well, it's a fucking. We're keeping it legit with the Midwest Wasteland thing. Today's show, I'm talking to some old reuniting through the squares with some old friends of mine. That they used to be. Let's see, Midwest Wasteland was like during the advent. I mean, wasn't Kevin can answer this? I know, like early days of podcasting, you guys were kind of ahead of the times when you.
Kevin
I mean, how long has podcasting been around since?
Just so
We started video game news before podcasting. We were doing it on Shoutcast, and then I was actually introduced to podcasting. I talked to Adam Curry because he was putting together at that time the list of shows, which was like a manually operated list, and there were volunteers that did it, and I was helping out putting those together. And then Apple eventually, added podcast to iTunes that blew us up like all over the place. And I don't think that list that Adam Curry had existed anymore. And so we did VGN from like around 2004 till I think, we continued to do it, but we started Midwest Wasteland, I think around 2007 or something. And then we did that for a couple of years. 2 years, maybe 2 or 3 years, and then we ran out of stuff to talk about, and then we just continued to do video game news until around 2016, 2017, something like that, and then we kind of stalled out.
Now you're talking Adam Curry. Is that the MTV dude?
Yeah. He at that time they were saying he created podcasts. He kind of did.
That was Kevin.
But it was he worked with other people, but it was an RSS feed basically, and his idea was, I think, because I'm not looking this up right now, but there was controversy about who did it and all this kind of stuff, and I'm not taking sides. I'm just saying what I remember. And he just came up with the idea that you could put an attachment on the RSS feed, and so that's what people were doing, because there were all these RSS readers that would tell you different things about like news on websites, so you could look at like your RSS and just see like a consolidation of all the different websites and what news they had. And then, with the attachment feature, you could put, like an MP3 file on there. And then, then people, extrapolated that into making it so you could subscribe to shows whenever they got released, and then there would be players and all that sort of stuff. So it all had to get to that point, and that's when iTunes kind of jumped on it as well and made it simple for people to subscribe to podcasts, etc. And then it went everywhere else. Yeah.
Nice. That's something I didn't know. So
It actually started off. Kevin wanted to discuss tips for feathering mulleted hair with Adam Curry. I'll grow out of that.
He's really into marching band music, which I'm not. And like all of his stuff was always like if you ever listen to his show, he was always just playing different marching bands.
You like Gershwin? It's like, oh god,
it was rough.
Yeah. So like you said, you started around 2007, then Midwest Wasteland, which
going off memory, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right, because my deployment was 2008, and I think I've shared this with you before. It was like therapy, being able to throw on my headphones and close my eyes, and it's like I was hanging out with all you guys, like reliving all these stories. Just like I'd be like cackling like a friggin' hyena in my rack, and everybody'd be like, "Oh my God, Bailey's lost it! Time to friggin' pink slip him," you know. But
Oh my God, stop giving away our position. Shut up.
But yeah. So anyway, the reason why we're doing this show for the Boondoggle audience, you know, we're talking about Midwest Wasteland reunion here. It's an old series that my friends here, Kevin started, and Larry Mack, Brian, and Don Anderson. We're doing just, you know, talking about, like he said, talking about a bunch of topics and giving their spin on everything, you know. And Kevin was, you know, I think I was looking for it like online just the other day, and it's like it's no longer available on iTunes and stuff. So that's what I like. But wait, there's more, because then I reached out to Kevin and I was like, "Hey, dude, what'd you ever do with all that Midwest Wasteland stuff? That stuff was
Burned
good.
in the backyard.
It's in the garbage.
Maybe I'll add it as a special edition, which we just did, on coming out every Saturday on the Today's Boondoggle podcast channel. So people get to hear how men spoke back in 2008 and 2009. You know, it's like a time capsule before the sensitivity took over, you know, and who knows? I'm not one to steer clear of controversy. Maybe it'll get me.
I don't think we would have changed our format if we were still doing it today. I don't think we would talk any different.
Exactly.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Some of us have responsible grown-up jobs, man. I can't be associated with some of that nonsense anymore.
Larry'd be doxxed and fired again.
I got to be respectable.
I don't work with other people, so I can say whatever I want.
I think everybody being older, no one would remember half the stuff now.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
my brain cells
sure?
are gone.
I don't remember being naked, but if you say so, all right.
I remember, you know, the last time me and you like got together, Kevin, you were working on this like this book, get together with everybody about our, you know, kind of documenting all the misadventures that we
You burned
had
that
growing up or whatever. And Midwest Wasteland, I think, would be a great resource for you to go back to.
Oh God,
for your book for sure.
Yeah.
And we lied a lot during we did that show. You know, we made up a lot of stuff. So I'm sure
all those stories of our childhood, crazy.
We wanted to put that thing in the beginning, like if anything is remotely
it's
true.
For movies.
Yeah, it's like none of that shit. We made all that up. We're very boring people. We decided we make stuff up to make ourselves seem more interesting than we really were. And we got crazy. We're sorry. We apologize.
I will say that's the one reason I always felt like out of place and dwarfed by you guys, because you would come in with these just insane tales of your childhood, and I'd be like, well, my mom and dad used to make us eat dinner together every night. And
well, we did too, but they didn't stare at you murderously the whole time, did they? I mean, you know.
Yeah, like my parents loved me. None of us were like. None of us were shooting bows and arrows at the kids across the street from the top of the garage. None of that.
Good times.
Yes, for sure. So the Midwest Wasteland is being rebroadcast, I guess. It's got nothing new. You know, this is all based back in 2008, 2009.
Yeah, but that's where life stopped.
There was nothing new then either.
Right.
2016, the world came to a close for us, and now we're just in our retirement, waiting for the fucking axe to fall so we can get out of here finally, go face the demons that we know are waiting for us.
But yeah, I wanted to have you guys on and kind of talk about those times, you know, putting that show together. And you kind of touched on it a little bit, but you know, when did you know, you were doing VGN for a while, and then you know, how did Midwest Wasteland come to be, and whose idea was it? And
well, VGN was more or less like this thought process I had in my head where I was like, I was really into video games, and I knew other people that were really into video games, but then I knew people that were not really into video games, and there was a very big division there, because the people that know everything about it, and then the people that are not know very little about it. And I thought it would be an interesting perspective to kind of have a show where you know, I was like into video games, but we would have other hosts on the show. It started with my brother, where they would not have any interest or care, and it was sort of
at all.
it was sort of tongue in cheek and aimed at the people that are super into it because they're so serious about it. I wanted to kind of reflect that, you know, I enjoy it, but not everybody's that serious about it. And here's evidence of why. And so that kind of was interesting because we were the only, especially when iTunes turned on, we were really the only gaming show that was kind of like this format, this morning zoo type of format. So we had a massive number of people starting to listen to us. We were like the 13th most popular podcast of all podcasts, and it buried our servers and everything. But of course, we weren't a real serious show. We would go over the news. We had the top 20 titles of the week, and we would go over lots of things about video games. But we mostly just talked about our lives and stories, and people were like, we want to hear more. A subset of people said, we want to hear more about that. There were, of course, lots of people that were like, you guys suck.
Yeah, let's hate mail.
Yeah, this isn't good.
Yeah, we love that.
You guys are offensive, and this isn't video games news or anything. So, you know, we'd get tons of that too, but we would get people that would want to actually hear our stories. So then I said, all right, I'll go ahead and create Midwest Wasteland as a sister show, and that way we could talk about different subjects.
Yeah, we did 2 shows at one time, didn't we?
Yeah, well, it was every other week.
Yeah, some of us were doing 3 shows at the same time.
Yeah, you and your show too.
Well, no, me and Cease would do the in between 2 shows.
Yeah,
there was Cleveland Sports, and then there was Don and Don, and then
then Cleveland Sports Radio as well. Yeah.
Way too much free time.
That's right. That's why I used to mock Brian Baird.
Ultimately, we did it every other week. It was a 2-hour show, and it going through everything, but it eventually died out because there was literally nothing else to talk about. I mean, at the end of it, it would have just been like, "What cereal did you eat for breakfast today?" Because there was
we did that.
We had gone through every story.
You guys could have pulled 2 hours out of that, though. I'm sure.
We probably talked about it. I mean, we probably did.
We did have a couple shows where it was most of the show was us mocking Kevin's ideas for future shows. like you know, Kevin was going to do like the Arbor Day holiday episode. And
yeah, the holiday show. That was ridiculous. Yeah. What did you do on Arbor Day? What the fuck is Arbor Day?
I didn't ask
how
anybody what they did on Arbor Day.
How do your family celebrate the Pentecost?
What'd you do for Boxing Day? I don't know. What the fuck is Boxing Day?
So who came up with the topics each week?
Oh, Kevin.
It was me, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely everything that happened was Kevin's decision.
Yeah, because when you asked us, it just became mayhem. Sure. You know, so you don't ask us. You don't never ask us what do we want to do. Because
look, most of it is just trying to get everybody to be on the show. Like that's you got to get everybody to show up, and we had lots of technical difficulties. Don was out in the middle of Amish country for most of it, so when he was on it, he was kind of off and on. Right,
with an antenna in one hand and a tin can in the other.
Right, and Cease barely could operate a computer. I think we got him some headphones and stuff, and he'd scream in the mic. And yeah, I mean, no, it was just in general. Brian would just disconnect for no reason, often
randomly,
just be like, "Oh my god,
oh my god,"
that was the dead.
Oh no,
Brian, what the? And then he just goes dead. And we're like, did cops just flashbang their way in the front door? What the hell happened?
You guys make me sound so much more exciting than I am. Like, just the phone died.
I know.
I was like, oh. And then I come back out, you guys are howling. I'm like, what? Like, we thought you got killed. I'm like, Jesus.
Somebody snuck up behind you.
Yeah. I have ninjas everywhere.
And Larry was always just like, Larry could never think of anything to talk about, so we'd have to like remind him of the crazy shit he did.
Yeah, we're talking about being old now. Like I remember the fights episode. I was like, I don't have any good fights. Then Brian started like telling me about some of my fights. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
Yeah. Once we got you going, man, it was like kickstarting a motorcycle that needed a battery charge or something.
Yeah,
got you going downhill. You were fine.
I'm old, man. I need a kickstart sometimes.
Yeah. Well, you weren't alone.
Nice.
I was always, we did the fight talk. I was like, this is embarrassing. I don't want to talk about this. There was no victories.
Right?
How do you think I felt? I never won a fight.
Mostly us talking about getting our asses kicked by different
might as well call it the hospital stay show, I had to call off work because I had a black eye show,
I should have brought Eric Butera in on this one.
Yeah. Oh, we would have sat back and listened to his wisdom. I mean, Christ. Every fight I know that guy's ever been in, he always won all of them, so.
Now, how much thought and preparation actually went into the episodes?
Not much. The whole idea behind it was really ad hoc. Just get everybody on and then take it where it can go.
Yeah.
Kevin would always call me and say, "Make sure here's what we're going to talk about. Have something to talk about." I'm like, okay, I would have nothing. At the last second.
Once or twice, Kevin tried to give us like prep homework, but no, it was. You know, he would tell us in advance what the topic was. We would always forget. So when it was time to do the show, Kevin would be like, "Don't forget, this week is whatever." We'd be like, "Oh shit!" And then we would just have to make stuff up on the fly.
And then 20 minutes in, he'd be like, "Anderson, what do you got?" And I'd be like, "What?"
Yeah.
He's like, "It's like I told you what we were talking." He's like, "What? Oh, yeah, I got something. Hold on."
Still better than
it would be more like
here.
you'd be like, you'd be talking through like a crazy
That's your fault.
paper cup.
That was your fault, Larry.
Yeah, that's my fault. Hey, Donnie, what do you got?
Soup cans and fishing string.
Yes.
Yeah, it was bad. It was funny.
Now, I mean,
oh,
go ahead, Don.
No, nothing. I was just gonna say I may have fallen asleep during the show, but when I woke up,
Maybe.
I went right into that pro wrestling review.
Yeah, you did.
Like it was nothing.
We weren't on that yet or anything. We're like, hey, what'd you think of the Indians game last night? You're like, what? So let me tell you, Hulk Hogan.
No one wrestling this week.
And the one time you fell asleep, I thought it was a joke. I'm like, "Did you fall asleep?" And you're like, "Yeah, I did."
Yeah.
Like, oh, you woke right up. Like, "Yeah, I did." At least you were always honest about it. You're like, "Yeah, I fell asleep. Sorry."
I ain't gonna lie. I don't know. I might have been talking in my sleep. Ice hot cold pop.
Thank God.
Came up with some really good stuff in your sleep.
Yeah.
Now, did you guys expect it to last as long as it did, though?
No,
No.
6 months tops.
Kevin's going to do this a couple times, get pissed off that none of us are
Or
taking
bored.
it seriously.
Yeah, he would have. He was so manic about. Well, I'm going to do this. Like, all right, sure. You just get used to it, and then like, fuck, we're still doing this. You sure?
Yeah,
at some
point, the show moved under its own inertia because there were weeks even Kevin was like, "Are we doing the show this week? What? Did I tell you guys a topic?"
I mean, I think honestly,
because what do you guys want to talk about? I'm like, I don't know. It's like, well, come on.
I think we were fan driven a lot. We had fans,
absolutely.
and they wanted us to do the show, and we were like,
we
"Really?"
tried to kill that show 3 different times at least.
Tens of fans.
You guys really want us to do this show and stuff? And so
people would like start sending in show ideas because Kevin was like, "I think we're done. We're out of shit to talk about." So people started sending stuff, and some of it was kind of ridiculous. Like, what's your do a show on everybody's favorite color or some stupid shit like that.
We have no idea.
One time I had bought this product and I had written into the customer service people about it because I forget exactly why anymore. It was so long ago, but I wasn't complaining or something, but I was writing in asking a question or something, and the person wrote me back and answered my question and then says, "By the way, I listened to your show and I think it's great." And I was like, "That's really weird. It's really strange."
Yeah. I've never run into one living being that's ever listened to our show, except people we know. And that's
I went to Comic-Con. Anderson was there, and people recognized me at Comic-Con.
We were standing in line.
Because Kevin called them up ahead of time. He's like, "Here, make sure you
showed my face."
Someone cool for my friends.
And
that freaked me out because we were in the line for something, and then like this kid comes walking by and he hits his buddy and he goes, "Oh my God, that's Kevin Baird." And Baird didn't hear it. He just
Fuck out of here.
Kevin, no, I swear to God, I swear to God, this kid's like, "Oh my God, that's Kevin Baird," and he kept walking, and I'm thinking to myself, Kevin Baird's so tall, he didn't even hear this kid say this.
Yeah.
And second of all, what about me? Like Anderson's right here. Like I'm right behind him. Like,
hey, you are kind of noticeable.
Yeah, like I'm staring. I heard what you said. How come you don't remember me?
Yeah.
So it was like nothing like that. That one time that black girl recognized me at a wrestling show. Hi, Anderson.
Hey, she goes, "Hey, Bill Bailey, how you doing?" And he's just like, "What the hell?" He's like some 14-year-old black girl. He's like, "Hey, how's it going?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm good." And he looks at her. He goes, "I'm sorry." He goes, I just have to tell you, I don't know how I know you or how you know me. She goes, "Your name's on your robe," because he was wearing a bathrobe that said Bill Bailey on it.
My mom bedazzled a homemade Ric Flair bathrobe for me for the rest of the show.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. How you doing, Bill Bailey?
So that's the only way I get recognized in public, But Kevin apparently is our freaking Johnny Depp.
Well, it's just because the show. It's not anything we did. It's just that we were there at the right time when it blew up on iTunes. I mean, that's all that we had. tens of thousands of listeners all of a sudden. Like, you know,
it for a minute
it dwindled down, but even today on Oblast, we've got over
tens of thousands to tens.
No, we've got over like 3,000 to 4,000.
That's just people that subscribe for God.
Yeah, I agree. It's probably what it is.
It was weird.
Australia
I got a phone
was
call
mad
from
at
New
me.
York City the one time. They were asking us about our show, and they wanted to know about, because they said we're really bumping numbers, and I just was constantly trying to push it to, like, call my brother because I'm gonna fuck this up. And in my head, I'm like, there's no way. I'm like, they have no idea the retards they're dealing with, man. Talk to me, it's over. If Kevin wants to make something out of this, that's fine. And then I guess they were like, well, we get rid of your brother because he swears too much. And Kevin was just like, no, I'm not doing that. And I'd have been like, fine, go ahead, be rich, dude. I'll just keep doing what I'm going to, you know, I'm going to keep driving the truck no matter what.
Yeah,
you know?
I'll mooch some money on
I have no reliance on being famous for 5 seconds. Like, no, thank you. No.
They're like, your brother swears too much. And it's like, no, that's not as much as he normally does.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, what's crazy too is, like, this was before like video streaming, so this was all audio. How did these people know what you look like? They had to do some like digging?
They pretty much did, because we didn't really post our pictures. We had a forum at one time, and I posted them up, but there were very few people on that forum. And yeah, maybe MySpace. I don't even remember.
We had that thing where they were drawing pictures of us. Remember? I don't remember how that happened.
You have a rough idea.
Yeah. It just showed. I mean, we were all pretty.
It was rough.
Larry had six-pack abs and shit on some of those pictures, so I don't know.
Well, this was a few years ago. I did at the time.
we were either demons or we looked really cold-blooded. You know, it's just like, goddamn, dude.
Put me on a fake horse with some slippers on or something.
That was Red Troll's drawing. Yeah, Brian was in the Satan suit. I was a Nazi. Larry was a zombie. Yeah, Donnie, I'm not sure what you were. You were like a little kid or something.
I don't. Yeah, didn't even have a goatee or nothing.
And Cease was like some.
He was
muscle guy.
Yeah, bending a pipe.
Right, well, he does.
Nice. And then, so Kevin would probably know this one. What ended up being your like most listened to or downloaded episode?
It's gotta be Crazy Ex-Girlfriends.
Crazy Ex-Girlfriends very popular. Marriage episode is really popular. Yeah, the problem is that I can't say for sure, because the problem is we switched around RSS feeds at the time, and so some people come out and they're like, "Do you have this episode and this episode?" And I can't find this episode. And so those people were trying to, put together the whole collection. And so those were like more requested episodes. And I would always be like, I'm never going to get to do that for you.
I'm happy to do it. I'll just never have the time.
I'll never organize all that for you. And the only reason, Bill, that you've got all those episodes is because a fan of ours organized all of those episodes and put them into folders and reached out to me and was like, here's all the shows. And I was like, thank you so much. And so I don't think so, but they had everything we ever did, including like the stuff on the compact discs that we sold, and like the special shows we did, and they did have the one interview I did with Jedi for his church and stuff. It was weird. Yeah. So it was all inside that collection. So it's
what not to do.
Super nice guy whoever did that. Same with our logo that I'm pulsing with right now. That was done by a guy in Australia. He just donated it to us, and then ended up being on all games. And then they got in with Microsoft, so you could use that as an avatar on Xbox. It's all crazy. It's all crazy looking back on it. Like, just a bunch of knuckleheads doing a show, and we had a lot of exposure.
Looking back on it, you're like, how come I didn't capitalize on this and I ain't getting friggin' checks every month?
Well, there's no money in it. I mean, there is if you're Joe Rogan, but there's no money in it. There's nobody trying to really advertise on podcasting in a way that you're going to make the money that you would on, like, if you do a video on YouTube, you get like 1 million views of your video, you're going to get like $4,000 from YouTube, right? Which is easier to accomplish due to their saturation. If you get 3,000 or 4,000 listeners of your podcast, you might get $1 or something. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to get very much. Now, maybe it's changed, but I think it's still there's not enough listeners of podcasts. Most of that is just most of the shows these days, they're either selling things themselves in order to make money, or it's just a loss leader. You're just advertising other, venues and or articles and things. Like you run a newspaper, so you also have a podcast, or you have a TV show, you have a podcast, that kind of thing, to sort of keep audiences engaged, to go back to your main thing. But there was never when I was working on this, a way for us to make revenue. I mean, and I think Rich Akuma still struggles with that with Rageworks, right? Like he's got Rageworks, he's got all these podcasts together. I'm sure they do some advertising, but you know, they're not making any money, and he's been doing that. He's been struggling for years, and he works really hard on it. I hope he does eventually
for him and
cash in, but I don't think anybody really makes money on this, like the kind of money that like somebody like Rogan can make, where you can just sit back and not do anything.
Patreon, man.
Yeah, I mean the Patreon, that helps, it does, but it's not. I mean, ask Anderson. I mean, we're not. We're talking like $20 a month or something. I mean, you know, for each of us, it's great, but you're just not going to make that kind of money.
It's got to
be. You got to do video, really, because that's where all the advertising is. They want to do video advertising. There's no radio advertising.
Sell flashlights.
It's all video advertising, and so video is where you get the revenue. That's why everybody's on TikTok and YouTube and Twitch, because that's where all the revenue is.
Typical Bill Bailey story. I'm always late to the game, but
got to do video, Bill. Go video. Do some 60-second TikToks. That's what the kids are watching. That's where all the money is. Well, the swag is. Got to get but you also have to be a 20-year-old girl with tight clothing and good makeup.
Yeah, right.
Or really fucking funny.
Yeah.
Well, you know, funny. Shout out to the fan that put all these together, so I could post these on the show now. Which one was like your favorite to record, and is there one that you like go back and listen to?
There's some funny ones. I mean, the greatest hits that Jedi put together, which is a combination of Midwest Wasteland and VGNs, are very funny. He did a good job on those. But I personally, I kind of like the ones where we role play the news, because they're just so stupid. They're funny as hell. Because we're just basically reenacting the news topics and they were near the end of the Midwest run. We kind of just did those as for fun. And I don't know. If you listen back to them, they're really funny because we're just so stupid. I don't know. My brother and Cease going back and forth having like fictional arguments is just hilarious.
Well, when I was President Obama, Obama, L. Jackson.
Yeah, that's awesome. I don't know, but you guys have any favorites? If you've ever even listened to any of them, I don't know. Do you guys ever actually go back and listen to any of the shows?
Yeah, once in a while I go back.
Okay.
Nope. I think one of my favorite stories is when Donnie was talking about the GameCube. The GameCube story still fucking kills me, because you guys, Jesus Christ, man, because the way he described it was perfect. And then Kevin acting like the fucking psychotic kid, you know. There's nothing else besides GameCube.
When I was playing that little kid in the video game, and he was just like, I beat you. And I was like, I don't even play this thing.
Yeah, you're like, this sucks. This is GameCube.
Now, who else had a favorite?
Not me. I have no idea. Once they're done, they're done.
He forgets them.
I do.
Barry,
I don't
go back and listen.
Delete. All central delete.
So I do occasionally go back and listen to Crazy Ex-Girlfriends and you know, Jedi's various best ofs. And you know, to Kevin's point, he did a great job. Although some of them, I'm not sure why they were best of. I'm like I'll hear myself now. Some of the stuff, I'm like, wow, the hell did they even let me on the show? I'm like, but
we're all fighting.
Try to think of some other great standout moments. Like the fights one was good, mostly because, like I said, it was Brian having to tell me about my stories.
Yeah, they weren't pure heroism. It was just miserable, one miserable story after another. I'm like, just getting her asses kicked.
Yeah, I'm like, and really, that's all I got. That's all the fights I've been in. And Brian would be like, what about that one time with that one? Oh, yeah, I forgot about that one.
Compartmentalize that trauma.
With me, it's not so much which episode do I remember. It's more like which piece of an episode, because that's all I remember is certain
moments that somehow we stumbled.
Like like when Kevin and Brian are like, yeah, so we got these new video, these cameras, these computer cams, and we're talking to each other over the camera, and I just started crying, and they're just like, what is the matter with you? And I'm just like, I was dying. They're like,
yeah,
what's the matter with you? I was like, all I can picture is you two sitting in front of a computer, like in your underwear, with your hair all disheveled, just staring at each other on your computer, going, oh, what do you want to do now? So what do we do now?
Yeah, and for me, some of the very best moments revolved around Kevin finally losing his temper with all of us and snapping. Like that holiday one was great, where Kevin was talking about all his upcoming, and he's just like listing the holidays. And I think it was Arbor Day that Brian said something. Kevin's like, "I'm not gonna fucking ask you for what you do on Arbor Day. I'm just saying we can take all those bullshit holidays and make one show."
I was looking at obscure holidays. It's like, you're gonna ask us about this because I know eventually I'd get them and he'd snap.
You got to give Kevin a lot of credit for all this, because he did put up with a lot. I mean, just that where he's like, we're going to talk about holidays, and if you say that to a normal person, you're like, okay, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, like the big ones, the main ones, And here we are, we're just like Columbus Day, Arbor Day. What about National Sugar Cookie Day?
About some of that shit. Like when guys like, fine, did you guys do anything for Columbus Day? He's like, no.
Okay, then we don't have to do that one. God damn! Like there were times I was like, okay, this is going to be the last show because Kevin's done. He's over it now.
My favorite episode, I think, was when Donnie told me about putting the Kool-Aid on the lips, because we're talking about that one video game,
the prison game,
Prison Tycoon. Yeah.
Put the Kool-Aid on your lips.
Yeah.
No, I think the greatest moment ever had to be putting the pool over the dog.
Oh, God,
the dead dog story. You can't talk about that story anymore. I can't, dude. I had him when I did Tumbling with Tumbleweed, and Clint was on there, and Jedi called in, and I go, Jedi, you're on with Clint. And he goes, oh, the dog killer. And Clint's just like, what? And I was like, nothing here.
Such a crazy story. I mean, we would do
really mad. He's like, I don't like talking about that.
We would do the top 20 titles and like the mat.
We love that shit.
The mat for the Wii board.
Yeah,
Larry would lose it every week on the mat for the Wii because it was always in the top like 3.
I can still piss myself.
It was a pre-order for a mat.
Wait, this stupid rubber mat that you can put your Wii board on? Yeah. Right. And people are fucking pre-ordering this thing?
And then, what was it? What was the one other video game? It was that one little girl detective.
Nancy Drew.
Always number one. Everybody thinks it's like Halo or Call of Duty or something's number one, and every week number one. Nancy Drew and the Secret of the Old Clock and shit, and we're just like, what?
It's like a Nerf football every time we hear that shit.
But of course, that's VGN. That's not Midwest. But it's all the same shit, really. I mean, it really is.
Shenanigans.
I got a lot of compliments about the show we did for Midwest called Making It, which was the one where we talked about our careers in quotes and trying to
one of us that has made it.
Yeah, trying to just get ahead and making it. Yeah, we got a lot of compliments about that show, which is not what we normally get about a Midwest Wasteland. We mostly get, like Donnie said, people from Australia were writing us in and being like, we're not all chasing kangaroos down here, you guys.
Yeah, we don't throw boomerangs and ride kangaroos. I'm like, it was just a joke.
Yeah,
that was funny.
Now we get rushed off to COVID camps.
Jesus.
Like I can only imagine, especially at its height, the amount of just hate Kevin had to read through in like emails from listeners.
I always told him, don't fucking talk to the goddamn listeners. What's wrong with you? He's like, well, I gotta correspond. Like, no, you don't. Throw in the delete section. That's what I would do. I wouldn't talk to any of them, man. Because we had that one page, and you call me up, and you're like, dude, you got to talk to them. I'm like, no, I don't. I've got going there like twice. All I see people like, be whiny bitches. And I'm just like, nah.
I think
this is fucking Twitch or some shit. Nah.
I pretty much think, besides Cease being sort of busy, is the fact that he quit because of the marriage episode, because his ex-wife found the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he called me and asked me to take it down. And I was like, look, it's the internet. It's forever. It's already there. You're just going to have to deal with it. But he didn't say anything that was untrue. I mean, that's what the guy was going through at the time. He just was pretty salty about it. Yeah. And but
like
So the
everything else
marriage
in his life.
episode ended marriages, huh?
I don't think he cares so much about it anymore. But at that time, he was getting a lot of grief about it, and so he decided he didn't want to be on the show anymore since his life was being exposed to the world.
Yeah.
But Cease also gave
But
us
the rest of us are like, yeah, whatever.
On that like injuries show or whatever when he had the giant water blister on his chest.
Right, that filled up with water. I get asked about that one too. Yeah.
I forgot.
Injuries. Yeah.
His stories, man.
We did the military episode with a bunch of military guys. That episode was probably one of the hardest episodes I did because everybody was ice cold on that episode. It was, Bailey, I think you were on that episode. I'm not sure. Maybe you were overseas at the time. But
yeah, I don't recall ever being on one. But
yeah, because we had a bunch of different people in the military in different branches. Brian was on it. But it was
my stories.
Everybody was just real cool customers because I guess nobody wanted to be made fun of by the other military guys or something. You guys are all,
No, you kind of if you're in the military, you expect that though. I mean,
I guess.
The one thing they don't they show you all the movie like the posters, recruitment posters. There's always these clean cut. They're always white guys, they're clean cut and noble looking, and that's not who the fuck you're with, So they should have told you. By the way, prepare to get savaged. The second you go in, like either verbally or physically, you're just gonna get fucking the shit kicked out of you again and again until you catch on. So yeah. I think it was more. It wasn't so much we were afraid of getting razzed. It was who's gonna start. And it never kicked off. But that was.
And there was another great moment because I submit to you that the world is a better place now that we have the Brian Trash Monkey story.
God, I had some guy tell me like, dude, that story's fake. My relatives were over in the Philippines and there's no monkeys. I'm like, all right, sure, believe what you want. There's no monkeys. What the hell? So, one guy said there was no monkeys. Another guy said that he was there or his uncle was there or some bullshit, and they didn't have anything like that. I'm just like. We're talking about a fucking military base, dude. When you knew every fucking job. If you were in the military, you knew there was nothing but Mickey Mouse jobs. I just knew I was being trolled. I'm just like, yeah, sure, I made it up. Whatever. Fuck off. I never tried to fucking make the fans like me, which was pretty clear. Is I wasn't going my way to be hated. I wasn't being that guy. I just didn't care. I don't know if it's a Gen X thing or whatever. I'm just like, if you like the show, great. If you listen, that's great. If you don't like it, fuck off. Go listen to something else. I'm not gonna hate you if you don't listen to us.
It's
Kevin
awesome.
would always Kevin would always get talk to people online, and then they would always try to convince him how to do the show right, and then they would use a lot of psychology with him, and he would get confused, and then eventually I would get that phone call you need to do this and that, and I'm just like, dude, no, you need to stop fucking listening to these assholes. They're they failed year one in psychology in fucking shows. They took a creative writing course just so they could be a better troll online. Just don't fucking listen to them. I'm gonna do this for fun. Tell them to fuck off. They don't like it. And Kevin's like, yeah, you're right. We are doing this for fun, and then we could talk about eating out some food or something.
I don't know what Brian's ranting about, but I mean, the thing is that
typical, as usual.
Nobody brought anything to the show. I mean, I had to do most of the work on the show, and it gets tiring after a while, and so you try to change.
You got burned out,
and I tried to come up with things so that the rest of these guys would have things to say and give them segments and give them other shows and everything, but it just never really there's no motivation there, so it just kind of it peters itself out. At this point, it's just Donnie and I doing a show where we talk about Marvel films for most of it, but it's all right. It's that's what we're good at, so that's what we're kind of doing right now.
We always did really well in winter, just when it got nice out there, and we're kind of like, I don't think I can.
No, we didn't do good at all. I mean, nobody ever brought any content ever. It doesn't matter what season it was. Nobody came in and was like,
that's what you would tell me. You were always like, well, it's going to be nice out and we're not going to do the show that much. I'm like, okay, whatever you want to do.
We would do every other week of the show. I think 2-hour shows were too long. An hour show was better, but I still you go week to week and you talk to the other hosts and they're like, I don't have anything to talk about. Then you're just kind of like, look, do you want to do the show? And I guess the answer is no, because you don't want to. You don't have any content. You don't want to talk about anything. You don't want to really.
Our work schedule would come into conflict,
and then lots of people would call in sick. Not Larry. Larry, for his credit, was always reliable.
I never had anything else.
But also no content, but always reliable. So
I was always willing to sit there and laugh while you talked.
Right.
Exactly. I was there sleeping, and I remember pumping gas one time talking to you guys while I was driving down the highway.
No, I mean,
so when you talk about reliable.
You often had daughter duty though, so you couldn't always show up. But
what Kevin was trying to say is I was pretty unreliable, and he's absolutely right.
No, Donnie would.
I'm just naturally funny. I could talk.
The show was on Sundays, and you always had to do like some kid exchange in like Mansfield or something.
Yeah.
And so like,
Brian's the only one we ever questioned because he'd be like, "I can't make it at 8:00 on a Sunday because my daughter has a dance recital," and we're like, "She does not have
once
a
every
dance
6
recital
months
at
or
8
so.
o'clock on a Sunday."
Sunday night,
or you get that. Or you could be halfway, we be doing the show, and Kevin's like, "Well, Brian can't be with us, so it's just the three of us." Oh, look at that! He just posted on Facebook. He's like, Brian's at home posted memes saying, like, "I'm watching this movie."
Out on top secret CIA duty, checking in on Facebook from the restaurant.
Yeah.
He's grocery shopping.
I'm not defending myself. I'm like, I was unreliable sometimes. There was, but very rarely. Very rarely would I say I can't do it. I just didn't feel like doing it. And Kevin was like, "You just don't feel like doing it. It's okay. Just say that. We're going to savage you, but go ahead." I'm like,
right.
Or it would be like my back is out. I can't do the show. And you're like,
"Oh, dude, that one time I couldn't even sit down. I had to lay down the whole time, and we didn't have the ability to talk on the phone."
We're not asking you to lift stuff. We're not asking you to help Larry move that china cabinet around or anything. You're just talking.
I puked on the show. Remember, I was sick. I was laying on the ground the one time. I was just like, "Oh my God." You're like, "Why are you even here?" And I was like, "I got to be here, man. I got to do this." And I had like food poisoning. And then I was just like, I was muting my phone I was just laying on the floor by the toilet, and I'd mute the phone and just puke and then come back.
Dude, I can relate, man. It's like I'm friggin' fighting chest congestion, sinuses right now. Just been laid up all weekend. I was like, damn it, I finally got all these guys together. I have to show up and make this happen. So.
Well, I hope this is everything.
The good thing is you don't have to do all the talking because Brian's here.
Yeah.
It was worse when I was on my Adderall, though, man. Donnie would try saying something, and I would just immediately like override him, and then the Adderall would wear off, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm such an asshole. Why the fuck did I do that?" I felt so fucking bad, But then the following week, back on my Adderall because I had a lot to say. And then it wears off, and you're like, "Why did I even talk that much? Nobody cares the fuck I have to say." But I sounded funny in my head at the time,
And I'd just be. Right, and then I would go quiet, and you'd be like, "Oh, no, he doesn't want to talk."
So I just felt bad later. I'm like, "I'm sorry, dude, man. I'm not on that shit anymore." But
and off of what we dealt with, so many technical issues, especially with guests. You'd have Jedi on who always sounded like he was next to an airport, like next to a jet engine, because you'd have a fan on, or they just have you have people on that have no I don't know, they have no sense of etiquette at all. Like that they're like live on radio, they're just like, "I'm gonna go get my dinner right now," and just like,
again,
it's
me. Yeah.
Brian,
I wasn't etiquette. I just knew that would drive you crazy, so I always did it.
Music jamming in the background. You're like, "Shut that off!"
Like right now, Brian looks like he's on the shitter from that camera angle.
Yeah. It just and then
like a giant.
Phones that disconnect.
You can see him.
Headsets that didn't work. Everybody sounded like a robot. Even me. Like, no, that's not working.
That's another one of my favorite episodes. Is when you were trying to help Jedi fix his sound, and it just got worse and worse, and to the point you were cry laughing, and I was dying, man, because I heard it like way later on. And you had the best of episodes, and Jesus Christ, that's to this day that still kills me. It just kept getting worse, and you're trying to explain what to do. Yeah, you were trying to explain what to do, and you couldn't because you were laughing too hard. He kept getting more and more frustrated.
Try this, and it would just squeal across the side.
Yeah, the software that we have today was just not there. It wasn't, even the things that were there weren't at the level they are today. And you would say something to somebody, and there'd be these big pauses, and then they'd be like, "What?" And then you'd be like, "All right." You re-say it, and then they'd start talking a minute later when somebody else is talking. You're like, "Hold on, he's about 2 minutes behind everybody."
Yeah. We always knew Donnie's would crash, and we kind of think Larry would crash once in a while. Like that was rather like you could set your watch by Don, but with Larry's, it was just sort of like
Larry's audio would work, but Larry would disappear. Like Larry would just get up and go do. I don't know if you were folding laundry. I don't know what you were doing, but you would just like. You probably thought we were talking for a while, and you just step away, and then we'd be like, "All right, Larry, what do you got?" And it just
He was
like
here to get up
silence.
at one point or another to take a piss, though.
I'd be like,
yeah,
he's still on
sometimes I
here.
would go take a piss, grab a drink, whatever. Now, at one point when I was, down in Medina at my parents', there was a problem where every hour my IP would
Oh
reset.
yes, I remember
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I'd be
you
like,
would just
okay, I'm
vanish.
going to disappear in like 5 minutes, and then I'd be back on.
And then like it would have like our pictures would show up when we're doing it, like kind of like this, except we weren't live. It was just like a picture of us. And if you went out and then came back, there'd be like 2 pictures, and on multiple occasions there'd be up to like 3.
Yeah.
It was like a bunch of clones attacking.
Yeah, you
like
see
the fuck's
4
going on, man?
Donnies in the chat. And...
So crazy.
Nice. Now, I mean, it's funny too because when I was going through the library that Kevin sent to me and all the different topics, and so far the episodes I've been catching up on, it's like, all right, today's topics: crazy ex-girlfriends. You said is a popular one. Career choices. The homeless tunnels under Kevin's old workplace was pretty fucking funny.
Yeah.
Marriage sounds like I'm looking forward to listening to that one again after hearing about the divorce rate that went up afterwards. But you had a special topic, one episode that was just about drinking, but it seemed like every episode involved drinking. So
Drinking, yeah.
That could have been a
Career
best
choices, marriages,
yeah. Most of the other
All
topics,
based on drinking.
the decisions we made, the things we did, revolved around drinking.
Yeah. You can say most of our life choices up to about age 35 or so involved some form of narcotic or alcohol or something like that. And then you notice that we slowly started to realize that we had to get our lives together, at least enough to continue to survive. And you get to age 40, then we're like, what the hell am I doing with my life? And now at 50, it was like we gave up. It's like whatever happens now, it doesn't matter. So
Sometimes it just be a
good run.
Sometimes it just be surprising that we would get and
we're alive.
2 hours out of something like UFOs.
None of us have actual firsthand stories.
You would think not, but then like we would have like a full show of just talking about UFO stuff, and it was like it was weird that we would be able to always generate enough content that way without going off track, which we always did.
Corber off because Corber was talking about all kinds of crazy shit. I was pushing his buttons.
I know.
My favorite, one of my other favorites is when Corber called up telling us about how he's about to go get laid. He was like jumping into his car. Like, you go, boy.
Corber would call and let us know he was about to get laid. Donnie would call in to let us know he was about to pump some gas and go.
And that was live on the episodes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
We didn't care.
I don't know if that was all Midwest.
You're not.
That's true.
I think he was in the park or something with the girl at the time or something.
Yeah, remember he was drunk and Corber did that game review where he's like, I got this game, and he was wasted. He was just like, I got this game, and well, I don't know. If you like it, go buy it. It was like that was it. It was like that's your whole review. He's like, yeah. And he just hangs up.
I'll never forget with Corber, and Kevin probably will remember this story, but I don't know. We were at some party with like Brian Baird's ex-girlfriend, which ended up becoming Brian Burke's ex-girlfriend, which ended up becoming his ex-wife. And Jason liked one of the girls, and then she ended up dumping him. And, we were out drinking and partying, and Jason slept over my house, and he was all like depressed. And he was just like trying to talk to me, and I'm just like smiling, drunk, passing out, and he's like trying to pour his heart out to me. Friggin', a week or so later when you'd get the phone bill and there'd be like, like charges and shit like that. There was this like number 1-800 hit home because I wasn't available to counsel friggin' Jason. So he decided to use my home phone to call a counselor.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I always use that and post that in his comments on his page.
He must have loved that.
Hit home.
He's like, you were just laying there smiling. I was like, I was drunk in my happy place.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was happy because I couldn't hear what you were saying.
Now, another thing that I'm looking forward to reliving and listening because, and I always needed reminders myself, like what happened
Yeah.
is the Cinema Wasteland episodes you guys did.
A recap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let's tell the audience a little bit about how back in the day what Cinema Wasteland was like.
Well, let me just say what it was is
in a hotel room.
Yeah, let me explain first that Cinema Wasteland is this. It's like a movie memorabilia, mostly horror movie. Convention is a strong word. That happens at a hotel where basically they play some movies all day, and there's like there's a few celebrities that come. People can get things autographed, and they sell merchandise.
We use the term celebrity loosely here.
Right.
Right. Celebrities always Sam Miller.
And so, like, our friends or us would rent a hotel room, and then people would come in and drink and party, and it would depend on.
We weren't the only ones.
No, right, and it would depend.
Fucking, lower 6 floors of the Holiday Inn was filled with ragers.
Yeah, but it would depend on the show, and I don't know, the spirit in the air. Sometimes you could have a drop down rager going on in that place, and then other times it would be like 10 dudes just sitting there staring at each other with sleepy face. You're right. It's ready to pass out. So it just kind of varied, but we decided that like the show would start on a Friday, and most people didn't go on a Friday. The hardcore guys did, like my brother and Oz and stuff like that. I don't know where.
Drinking, that's why.
Yeah,
and then Saturday would be the big day where like most people would.
Everybody showed up. Yeah,
well, right. And so we recorded on Sundays, and I would always ask the guys, "Are you going to be all right to record on Sunday?" And they were always like, "Yeah, we can record on Sunday."
And we never.
So we would record, but I think everybody
would, but we were rough.
Right, pretty tired about telling stuff that was going on. So yeah, that mostly I didn't go to those shows, so I was playing catch up with you guys. I went to a couple. I mean, I went to the Great Kimono Incident with Blackie, and
that was great.
That chick that wanted to stab him or whatever that
crazy chick,
her name.
Crazy, moonshine bitch.
Moonshine bitch,
yeah.
And but so that's what those shows were basically. But yeah, it was just those places could get kind of crazy.
Like the one, like I do remember the one year. I don't know if you were there, Kevin, but on Saturday during like the last round of movies, the power went out, and it was just insanity for the rest of the night.
Oh yeah, I remember that clearly.
I was at that one. I remember that. Yeah.
Had the dogs going up and down the hallway and get in your rooms. You're going to jail. It's like, yes, sir. They didn't tell you couldn't party. They just said get in your rooms. They're like, all right. And you had to try to find your fucking room in the dark.
The music would get ridiculously loud too. Like you're in a hotel room. I'm always imagining there's some like wiped out pilot or something like sleeping next door. And there's like the music starts off at a low volume.
They did put us on the same floor with them at first,
and then Blackie and Oz would show up, and the volume would just get ridiculously loud, and everybody would be singing
Uncle Joe
screaming at the top of their lungs. Yeah, I don't know how we
had the suite with the 2 rooms. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, that's when they showed up.
If you were in like one room,
leaving when the cops showed up.
The people in the other room could hear your conversation, so everyone is just screaming over the loud ass music.
So fucking loud, yeah.
You'd have the outside the lobby, like everybody was like from the front door out because they were like, there's like no smoke, and so all these people. I mean, it was just a huge crowd, and then the bus would pull up from the airport. And there's like 3 pilots coming off and a couple stewardesses, and they just get off the bus and they're like looking at everything, and everybody's like people dressed up like Ash from Evil Dead and like the devil and evil Santa.
We'd all start cheering though. We'd see them. We would start cheering, and those are the
and then everybody be like, "Yeah, pilots!
Hey, how's it going?" They're like rock stars.
You're like, oh, good. I can get a few hours shut eye before I have to fly to friggin' Tokyo. You get on the bus, and Vampire Santa is out there smoking and
drinking. They get off the bus, and Kevin Rom's running up to her going, "Party!"
Yeah. They actually put like a whole. There's like a whole area when they go there. All the pilots and stewardesses up on the top floors, and then there's like a whole floor that's like nobody, and then the floor beneath that is all the psychopaths. Just so that making sure that they can get, they keep their account up at the airport and shit, which they got to do.
And in front of the hotel, everyone is wearing black. it is just like a mob of people,
of crows,
all in black, right? And then Amber walking around in pink. But everyone in black, like it's like if you were coming in, you'd be like, "Where am I? I'm about to get killed." Like if you didn't know any better or something. But everybody's cool. Like
I remember the one year Brian Stair was in town and he attended, and he had some sombreros from Mexico and tequila, and that was pretty wild.
I just remember you putting up signs for everybody saying when we had the bad beer party, and you put them all over the place like free beer. And we had like people showing up, knocking on the door, saying, "Hey, there's free beer here." We're like, "No, the party's over." Like, but it says free beer. One guy was arguing with Melville about fucking. Yeah. He's like, "No, but it says here." He's like, "Dude, it's not a coupon. We don't have to honor these shit. Get out." That was hilarious.
There, I was a little disappointed when I listened to the career choices last night. Manchu Walk got an honorable mention, but none of the insanity that happened at Manchu Walk was mentioned, like Kevin karate kicking me in the face and Brian Stair writing "oh shit" on the bathroom wall with shit. So I was a little disappointed that wasn't brought up.
You could probably do a whole show just about Manchu Walk if you had the right people, because that place, I don't know. Just working inside the mall in general is always chaos and fun. Bailey, you rolled around the floor with that bottle of soap dispenser, like pretending you were in the military shooting at the corners when Walter had us like stay late and clean the whole place. It was funny shit. Bill would, like, when we were working with Wing, Bill would like I'd be showing him how to do something like a cabbage, like cut a cabbage, and Bill would get the knife stuck halfway through the cabbage, and then he would lift it really high up in the air and then slam it down on the table. Like, bam! And then he would like go over it and look at me and be like, "What are you doing?" And my bosses would just think it was me and shit. I'm like, "Would you?" Constantly. Then Corber put his hand in the grinder and took off the tip of his finger. Yeah,
blood all over the friggin' egg rolls and shit.
That's not good.
Yeah, for sure. There could be a whole episode with Manchu Walk.
Kevin always either came home from Manchu Walk either really jazzed or exhausted.
Depends how much we pushed his buttons.
It was a normal job when Wing was there, and then that Walter guy showed up who was like this ice cream ice cream man, delivery guy, whatever you call it, the ice cream man that comes down the street. He had a picture of his thing up on the wall and stuff, and he's like, "That's my thing." And I swear the guy would like snort some coke or something and just talk to us, just talk nonsense to us all the time about the future and everything like that. And you'd pull up a chair and he'd talk to you for a while, and then I don't know, man. He ended up trying to steal a bunch of money and blame it on me, and he got fired because he took the day's money and he hid it in the grease racks in his car and took it home. And then we were trained to normally take the money to the bank, but nobody gave me any money to take to the bank. I came into work then the next day or whatever, and the district manager was there, Francis. I was like, "What happened to Walter?" And he's like, "Walter fired. He steal money. He blame it on you." I mean, we can blame it on me. He's like, "Yeah, but if kid have it, you see kid have it. You wear the money. You see it on you. You don't come into work next day." I'm like, "You're right."
That's true.
And then
very wise.
Walter tried to say it was a mistake, and that he tried to go to corporate or something to get his job back. I don't know if he ever did. I mean, that was about it. They gave the
back
company
to the ice cream truck with you.
Yeah, gave the company to Ray, and then I lost my job because John Matoya was talking about one of the girls that worked there, and she overheard. That was the end of that.
I think Walter doubled as a psychologist too, because I think it was him that gave me my first diagnosis, telling me I was chemically imbalanced. So.
Oh, really? Oh, that sounds like something
managers at one of those OWE jobs. That should have been a topic. Just OWE in general.
Yeah, that crept into a lot of episodes.
Yeah.
That was. I think that was on the career choices one, wasn't it? Like
it got
your first jobs.
Yeah, we probably talked about it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, and it was kind of Crazy Ex-Girlfriends too, because you mentioned, I was working at Wendy's, and let's see, our manager was Animal, and you
look like a Muppet.
You met that witch chick or whatever.
His name was Don.
What was that?
Don. His name was Don. Yeah. He wasn't my manager. He was the manager in the
Don
when we were in ninth grade.
He was the manager when you and I. He was the manager when me and. Huh?
Yeah, go on.
When me and Bailey were changing our clothes in the bathroom in front of that guy trying to take a dump.
Because we just got there from school or whatever, getting ready.
We walked in there and there was like no stall doors or nothing like that. We're both like, we got to go change our clothes. And we walked in the bathroom. The guy's sitting on the toilet. We're just like, oh, well, we're going to turn our backs to you and change our clothes while you're dumping.
That was like preparing me for the military for sure. Well,
that guy had to feel like
we've been going at it for like an hour. I know like Don needs to go celebrate and stuff like that. But I mean, unless you guys got any more honorable mentions, we can get ready and wrap up with a couple questions. Nothing?
Shout out to the fans because
I got nothing.
Yeah, thank God.
Kevin touched on this, but I remember like the moment it really hit for me because, yeah, as Kevin said, none of us other than Kevin really invested much in the show. It was just something we did, and hey, we got to hang out and make Kevin happy, so it was worth it. But when at its height, I remember we had this one fan, and I was like, okay, we're a couple of borderline retarded idiots talking about whatever comes into our mind. Why does some random guy in India give a shit about anything we're doing?
Yeah.
Right.
True.
And the fact that we have like,
It's like, why is Australia giving me a hassle?
Yeah, like the fact that we have like super God Squad Jedi out in friggin' Arizona, who's like, oh, you guys are going to be in New York? I could totally be in New York. It's right down the road from me. I'll meet you there.
That was a great time in New York.
Right.
No, yeah. Just remember, if you're a new listener to this show that Bailey's putting up every week, just know that this was 15 years ago when the world was a different place, honestly.
Disclaimer.
I got to disclaim it because
don't sue us.
Where we were younger,
way
and,
different.
We're different people than we are now. Mostly.
I make no apologies.
We might get
Brian hasn't changed much, but.
Right?
No, I'm just like, don't. If you're easily offended, fuck you. You know,
we're gonna get canceled.
You wouldn't even be listening to Bill's show, for fuck's sake. What the hell are you talking about?
Exactly.
Who's making the link from Bill's show to our show and suddenly then they're offended? You know, they're like, no.
I'm just saying, don't write us something.
Hardcore listen to Bill's show to begin with. You got to be hardcore listening.
Kevin's worked hard for everything he has. Yeah. He doesn't want to.
No, I'm just saying, don't write us something that we said 15 years ago about it.
Who's going to read it?
Complain about Australia's representation or something? Because
I was going to say, yeah, you're right, and get out of their lives.
Right. It was ages.
That's
ago.
if we even read it, because I know I wouldn't. I'd be like, I don't care.
We've been through all the tribulations already, so
Yeah.
Kevin doesn't want to go back. Still got flashbacks.
Yeah.
But
we didn't care then. We don't care now.
Let me ask you guys a couple questions that I normally ask that I feel you guys would have great answers for. What class do you feel should be mandatory before graduating high school? Looking back at everything we've been through.
Wait, what?
If you were in high school today, what class you should be taught?
Yeah, what class should be mandatory for kids graduating high school today?
Probably not just how to manage your money, but how not to get sucked into other people's money, scams. How to avoid that. Maybe how to change your oil in your car and not just be like, well,
Okay, I'm not changing the oil in my car. There's like a whole
how to change a
dedicated
tire,
to making sure I don't have to change the oil in my car.
I took an elective at North Olmsted that was all about it was like consumerism, and you would learn how to balance your checkbook, but you also learn how to
taught us that too, but they wouldn't tell you, by the way, you're going to get sent. Here's a free credit card with a $10,000 limit.
You could you could also, like, we would write in letters to companies, and they would send some people free stuff. Tom Packard got a free jean jacket back from Levi by complaining about his jean jacket. I was like, well, that's bullshit. I know I went with one thing for English class with Bailey. We went around and asked for donations, and we got 5 gift certificates to Mr. Hero. And then when we turned it in, there was only 4. I blame Bill.
Those Roman burgers, man. Come on.
Yeah, they are addictive.
But that was actually a good class. I think if I was going to teach kids, it's something along the same lines. Like it would be good to understand how to handle your money at least, because it seems like a lot of people don't know how to do that.
Urban survival.
There's a lot of things that you get taught all kinds of things in school. You spend 12 years in English class, and most people can't write anything. So I don't know how effective any of it is really when you're of that mind. It takes a lot more time, but
we definitely need like a better English class in terms of like just being able to communicate. Like Lord knows I'm not as nitpicky as I am. Like I ain't gonna bust people's balls with like you need a comma here or this should be a semicolon, not a colon, whatever. But like for instance, when people are talking to me, as soon as you say, "Hey, I seen," I'm not listening to the rest of the sentence. It's just going to be nonsense. You did not seen nothing.
Right.
The class would be how to be taken seriously in the modern world.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. Like,
yeah, they ought to make that like predictive text that like tries to guess the word that you're trying to say or type, and then it actually just like rewrites your entire paragraph into something that's intelligent. Like this is what you really meant to say.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, that's.
I'm not sure what you were mumbling about, but
right.
Like
that's
Apple autocorrect, man. I don't know what the hell ducking is. I know I'm not ducking anything usually when I'm trying to.
Yeah, I shut that off instantly. I got a phone. I'm like, nope, thanks, nope.
When I'm bitching about something in a text.
Some of that predictive text gets good, or like when it'll correct like my swipe texting, because I've noticed anytime I try to do drink on my phone, it automatically corrects it to drunk.
Dials AA for you.
Hey, I'm going drinking. Also, always seems to wind up I'm going driving, which is true.
This is why we know
what I'm trying to tell them.
The robot takeover isn't coming anytime soon because they can't get any of that crap right.
Right.
It's so far away.
The robots will take over, but based on their understanding of language and everything, they'll just be walking into walls and shooting each other.
Right.
And apparently ducking each other a lot.
Yeah. Now, favorite toy as a child?
The Death Star. When I got the Death Star for Christmas.
Say that.
Oh, okay, then Donnie can have the Death Star. Fucking Etch-a-Sketch.
No, go ahead. I also got Castle Grayskull. I mean, you can.
Yeah, I wasn't cool enough to get Castle Grayskull, but yeah, the Death Star and the trash compactor with the stupid little foam bricks that you filled it with because that was garbage.
Yeah.
I gotta remember when I got Jazz and I had a snow trooper. You guys got fucking Death Stars, Christ. Like, wow, look, I got a snow trooper.
Got one figure, you got the whole thing.
I got the Death Star the same year that I got one of those Shogun Warriors.
Oh, those were great.
Castle Grayskull and Masters of the Universe was so ahead of their time too, because He-Man was already using pronouns.
She-Ra.
Yeah, I would say mine was Big Track. Brian's is probably 2XL, just because of how much time we spent with both of those as kids. But Brian can answer himself. But Big Track was a programmable robot car thing that mostly just used to annoy my father. And
it was hilarious.
Yeah.
They're shooting at him about 99 times. My dad would just snap, like, how do I shut this off? You hear the batteries come rolling out of it. I like the 2XL because Kevin got me one replacement, or not replacement, but he gave me one that works and one I could use for spare parts. Like I'm going to take it apart. I wouldn't know what the fuck I was doing. And I still had 8-tracks left over from back in the day, but he got me like one or two. I don't remember. And I played it for my youngest when she was a lot younger than she is now. And she loved playing with it. I mean, you're just like, oh wow, what's this? And I'm like going, well, back in the day, it was pretty gay then.
Right. Back in the day, this was my everything.
Yeah, it was a robot that you could press
now
buttons.
It's cool because it's retro.
Yeah, then I could take out that 8-track that for the games I could put in like an 8-track of Henry Mancini or something really wild.
That was the hard part about that world back then, in the sense of there was no internet and you had no access to things once they were no longer in stores. So if you had like something like the 2XL or some game console or something that took specific things like cartridges, like the 2XL took 8-track tapes, and it was kind of like once they stopped selling it, there were no more. You might run into a kid that had one, and then you could try and negotiate, like, can I borrow those or something?
Yeah, make an exchange.
But yeah, for the most part, like, something was just gone. Unlike today, where like you could own everything forever, basically.
Well, everything's come back too, so you could just find it everywhere. But yeah, back in the day, if it was gone, that was you just like if it was a TV show, you know, you wanted to watch, and then it was like. I remember the one time I wanted to stay home because I wanted to watch that Star Wars holiday show and fucking dodged a bullet with that one. Jesus Christ. Mom made me go to my friend's birthday party. I'm like, okay. Because I wanted to see Princess Leia because, you know, it wouldn't.
Oh, my God.
And then years later I saw it and I'm like, oh, my God. What the fuck kind of drugs were they on, man? Jesus.
Leia and B. Arthur. So, I mean, what more do you want?
Yeah, but that's yeah, and just like that with movies too. Like if you know, before there was VHS, I mean, there was some stuff in the 70s that rich people that, you know, worked for the Illuminati would have to watch movies at home, right? But if you were a normal person, and before VHS was a thing in the 80s, if a movie came out, that was it. That was your opportunity to see the movie. You could wait until it came out on TV in a couple of years terrible. Where it was totally edited, and yeah, they had those fake voices come on where it'd be like, you get your hands off my darn property, you know.
Those are fucking great.
So stupid. Yeah. Awesome. Times are better. Okay.
So before we get ready and wrap up here, if any of the listeners want to see what you guys are up to today. I thought I heard Donnie and Kevin mention that you guys have been doing something. If you guys want to plug it.
If you're looking for a podcast and you just do a search, you can look for Oblast. It sounds like it's spelled like it sounds OBLAST, and you'll find Oblast with Don and Kevin, sometimes called Kevin's Oblast Radio. Donnie and I do that one weekly for the most part. And videogamenews.com is also where you can find more information about everything that we do for the shows. Video Game News is not totally dead. Like we haven't recorded anything in a long time, but it's still on the back burner. But I work 2 jobs and it's impossible. Plus Brian has the weirdest schedule on earth. And I've asked him for times. He's like, I only can do a show at 4 on a Saturday or something. I forget it. It's not going to happen. So eventually though, that might resurface at some point, but for now, Donnie and I are just doing the Oblast. And so if you're interested and you want to listen to it, that's cool.
So what is the Oblast? Like,
it started out as my show originally, where I would just do some ranting about longer topics that people were kind of interested in. At least I thought they were. And then I would also do a lot of interviews.
An event instead of journaling.
Yeah, I would interview a lot of people from around the world and about their lives and everything. We still do some of that. And then Donnie stopped doing Tumblin' with Tumbleweed, which was his show that he did on Blog Talk Radio. And so we decided to join forces and do one show a week. And I think it's working out pretty good. Like we have enough to talk about to fill an hour every week. I will talk about singular subjects at times for half the show. And then other times we'll talk about
rough ones.
Yeah. There's some really adult material there. And then we'll also talk about Marvel and comic books and the usual stuff, what we're doing and life and things like that. So it's all right. It's good for an hour.
Nice. And then Brian and Larry, you guys just look for you to send them a Wasteland or something?
Yeah, probably. I'll have my own special box while I'll be sitting there signing autographs. That'd be crazy.
15-year-old kid behind you. That's Brian Baird.
My God. Like, what the fuck? I would immediately assume they know my kids. Otherwise, I'd be like, I have no idea who you are.
Bunch of guys show up with torches in front of Brian. There he is.
That I would expect. Every day I go out to work. I'm like, any minute. If I tired of me getting up in the middle of the goddamn night to go to work.
Nice. All right. Well, I gotta wrap this up. My friggin' sinuses are killing me. But thank you guys for getting together, helping us plug this Midwest Wasteland. Happy birthday, Donnie. Thanks for coming in on your birthday. And, it was nice catching up with everybody. And hopefully, the weather gets better. We'll all do it again in person sometime soon.
Right on. Cool. Thanks for having us on. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Bye.
See you.